The ocean has always been a frontier of mystery, a place where silence conceals both beauty and danger. But beneath that vast expanse lies something most people will never see, let alone understand, a hidden force designed to shape the balance of power across the globe. These are the Ohio-class submarines, among the most formidable machines ever built by human hands. Each one is a floating fortress, stretching nearly the length of 2 football fields, armed with devastating weapons that could alter the course of history in mere minutes. To the casual observer, they are invisible. Their true strength lies not just in steel and firepower, but in the secrecy of their missions. For months at a time, crews vanish beneath the waves, leaving behind families and the world they know, trading sunlight for steel corridors and the unyielding rhythm of life underwater. These sailors carry out one of the most demanding and isolating duties in military service, maintaining round-the-clock readiness for a mission they hope will never be ordered, but must always be prepared for. The Ohio-class program began in the Cold War, born from the need to ensure America's ability to deter adversaries with unmatched power at sea. Each submarine was constructed not only as a war machine, but as a signal to the world. The United States could project strength even from beneath the ocean's surface. Over the decades, these submarines have become a cornerstone of the Navy's strategic arsenal, evolving through updates and refits to remain as lethal and effective today as they were when first launched. But what makes these submarines so remarkable is not only their engineering, it's the people who serve aboard them. Sailors assigned to Ohio-class submarines endure a lifestyle unlike any other. Imagine spending 3 months sealed away from the sun, sharing close quarters with over 150 others, every moment scheduled down to the minute. Privacy is non-existent, communication with loved ones is limited, and the mental strain of operating in such an environment pushes even the strongest individuals to their limits. Yet despite these challenges, thousands have volunteered for this duty, driven by a sense of responsibility that transcends personal comfort. Step inside an Ohio-class submarine and you enter a world where precision and discipline are the currency of survival. Every bolt, every valve, every system has a purpose, and every sailor is trained to understand that their role, no matter how small, can make the difference between mission, success, and catastrophic failure. These boats carry nuclear missiles capable of reaching targets thousands of miles away, but they also carry the weight of restraint, embodying the paradox of power meant to be held in reserve. The presence of these submarines beneath the sea is both a shield and a warning. They are not built to patrol coastlines or fight conventional battles. They exist for one reason above all others: deterrence. By remaining undetected and always ready, they ensure that no enemy can launch a first strike without expecting devastating retaliation. It is a mission steeped in secrecy, silence, and the unwavering discipline of those who serve. This is the story of the Ohio-class submarine, its creation, its purpose, and the men and women who dedicate their lives to operating one of the most powerful weapons ever devised. To understand their world is to step into an environment where normal rules of life no longer apply, where every day is shaped by the hum of machinery, the routine of drills, and the ever-present awareness of what their vessel carries. Life aboard an Ohio-class submarine is unlike any existence most people can imagine. From the moment the hatch closes and the vessel begins its descent, the outside world ceases to exist. Time itself becomes distorted. There are no windows, no sunsets, no changing of days to mark the passage of hours. Instead, the crew lives by a rigid schedule designed to maintain order in an environment where chaos would be unforgivable. Every moment is measured, every routine rehearsed until it becomes second nature. The submarine is not a ship in the traditional sense. It is a world unto itself, a sealed ecosystem operating with precise efficiency. Fresh water is produced by desalination. Oxygen is generated through complex systems that split seawater, and every scrap of waste must be carefully managed. Food is loaded aboard in astonishing quantities before departure, filling storerooms with enough supplies to last for months. Even then, meals become less varied with time, and by the end of a patrol, the luxuries of fresh produce and soft bread are long gone. Yet for all its limitations, the galley remains the heart of the boat, the place where weary sailors gather, laugh, and find a brief moment of comfort in the otherwise unrelenting routine of patrol. Sleep comes in cramped bunks, stacked in narrow rows, sometimes shared in shifts by sailors who rotate through them. Privacy is almost non-existent. The hum of machinery is constant, and the air carries the scent of metal, oil, and recycled oxygen. But in this environment, camaraderie forms in ways impossible to replicate on land. Sailors learn to rely on one another, to anticipate each other's moods, to share burdens both professional and personal. Bonds forged in these steel corridors often last a lifetime, born of the knowledge that every man and woman aboard depends entirely on the discipline and vigilance of the others. Every day is a rhythm of drills, maintenance, and watchstanding. Submariners rehearse for fire, for flooding, for system failures that could spell disaster in the depths of the ocean. These drills are not mere exercises, they are lifelines. A fire at sea is not just dangerous, it is catastrophic, capable of spreading in seconds through compartments where escape is impossible. A mechanical failure could leave the vessel stranded, cut off from the surface, with only the skill of the crew standing between survival and tragedy. The men and women of the submarine live with this reality constantly, never allowing complacency to dull their focus. The vessel's most guarded space is the missile compartment, a cavernous section housing tubes that hold the submarine's arsenal of nuclear weapons. These missiles are not casually discussed among the crew. They are treated with the solemn respect of what they represent. Each one has the power to end millions of lives, to alter nations, to change the course of civilization itself. Yet their purpose is not to be launched, but to remain hidden, silent, and ready. The paradox of their existence defines the entire mission of the submarine. Weapons designed never to be used, maintained at the highest readiness for the sole purpose of ensuring they remain unnecessary. Outside the hull, the ocean is an eternal night. The submarine moves unseen, its presence undetectable by all but the most advanced tracking systems, and even then, only rarely. Its silence is its strength. The ability to disappear into the vastness of the ocean ensures that adversaries can never be certain where it lies, and that uncertainty is the foundation of deterrence. Somewhere beneath the waves, at any given moment, an Ohio-class submarine is on patrol, its crew living in quiet sacrifice, its presence shaping the decisions of nations. Back home, families carry their own weight of the mission. Wives, husbands, children, and parents go months without word, never knowing precisely where their loved one is, never able to call or write beyond carefully screened messages. The separation is its own form of endurance, a parallel sacrifice that often goes unrecognized but is no less vital. For every sailor submerged beneath the sea, there are loved ones above it, waiting with patience, pride, and sometimes fear. The psychological toll of this life is profound. Submariners are trained not only in technical skills but in resilience. They learn to master boredom, to endure confinement, to thrive in a world where stress is constant and escape is impossible. Mental health is as critical as physical readiness, for in the close quarters of a submarine, one individual's collapse can ripple outward, affecting the entire crew. It is a life that demands both strength and humility, a willingness to subordinate self for the sake of mission and team. The Ohio-class submarine is thus not merely a weapon, but a test of human endurance. It asks its crew to live in silence, to vanish from the world, to carry an unspoken burden of responsibility that most people will never fully comprehend. And yet, for those who serve, there is pride in that sacrifice, a recognition that they are guardians of a fragile balance, keepers of a watch that must never fail. Life aboard these massive submarines is unlike anything most sailors will ever experience. When a crew member first steps below deck, the world changes immediately. The compartments are tight, ceilings low, and every available space is filled with equipment, pipes, or wiring. The submarine is essentially a floating and sinking labyrinth of steel, designed to operate for months at a time, with no contact from the outside world. For many, the transition can be overwhelming. There are no open skies, no fresh air, and no sunlight. Days blur into nights, and sailors must rely on a rigid schedule and artificial lighting to keep track of time. Yet for those who adapt, the submarine becomes not just a vessel, but a second home. The accommodations are austere, but carefully organized to maximize space. Crew members sleep in what are commonly called racks, tiny bunks stacked in narrow rows, often with less headroom than a person's shoulders. A curtain offers the only privacy, and possessions must fit into a small locker or be stowed wherever there's room. Hot bunking is common, meaning that as one sailor finishes their watch and goes to bed, another rises and takes their place, sharing the same bunk in shifts. It is a constant cycle, one that mirrors the relentless rhythm of the submarine's operations. Despite the tight quarters, camaraderie grows quickly, because every sailor shares in the same challenges and discomforts. Food is one of the few comforts that bridge the gap between life under the sea and life on the surface. Submarine cooks are often regarded as unsung heroes, tasked with preparing meals that sustain morale as much as they sustain the body. With limited storage and months-long deployments, managing supplies is a feat of its own. Early in a mission, meals may resemble home-cooking fresh vegetables, fruit, and even baked goods. But as weeks pass, the menu gradually shifts to rely more heavily on canned, frozen, or dehydrated foods. Still, submariners insist that meals aboard their boats are among the best in the Navy, a reputation earned by necessity. Because when sailors are locked in a pressurized steel tube for months, good food becomes a critical lifeline. The daily routine is structured around watch rotations. Crews are divided into sections, each responsible for a different set of tasks at different hours. A common schedule is 6 hours on watch, followed by 12 hours off, though off rarely means free time. Those hours are filled with training, maintenance, cleaning, or drills, all of which are essential to keeping the submarine in peak condition. Fatigue is common, but discipline and professionalism ensure that every sailor remains sharp. After all, a single mistake in an environment this unforgiving can endanger the entire crew. Perhaps the most challenging aspect is the psychological strain. With no outside communication during patrols, sailors cannot simply call home or check in with loved ones. Letters and updates are delayed until the boat returns to port, which means life aboard becomes a bubble, sealed off from the outside world. To cope, sailors lean on each other. Friendships form quickly, built on trust, humor, and a shared understanding of the unique burdens of the submarine force. Some describe it as living in a small town that just happens to be traveling thousands of feet beneath the ocean's surface. Everyone knows everyone else, and teamwork isn't just encouraged, it's a matter of survival. Despite the hardships, many submariners speak of the profound sense of purpose they feel. Unlike other naval assignments where missions may vary or shift with changing circumstances, the purpose of an Ohio-class submarine is clear and unwavering: deterrence. Every crew member knows that their service is part of a larger strategy designed to prevent conflict rather than ignite it. The silent, invisible patrols they conduct are not acts of aggression, but rather a demonstration of readiness, ensuring that potential adversaries understand the cost of starting a nuclear war. It is this knowledge that they stand as guardians against the unthinkable that drives them to endure the isolation, the cramped quarters, and the relentless demands of life below the sea. If life aboard the Ohio-class submarine is defined by endurance and discipline, its very mission is defined by silence and strength. These vessels are not built for show, nor for direct confrontation. They are the embodiment of deterrence, armed with weapons designed not to be used, but to remind the world of the consequences if they ever were. At the heart of this purpose lies the submarine's missile system, the Trident II-D5, a ballistic missile capable of carrying multiple independently targeted warheads across thousands of miles. Each missile is stored within its own launch tube, standing silently within the submarine's massive hull, shielded from view but ever present in the minds of those who operate them. The destructive power of a single Ohio-class submarine is staggering. With the ability to carry up to 24 missiles, and each missile armed with multiple warheads, one vessel alone could unleash devastation on a scale that exceeds anything in conventional warfare. Yet the crew members who serve aboard these submarines do not dwell on the destructive capacity they maintain. Instead, they focus on their responsibility to ensure that such weapons never need to be used. This paradox defines their work. Their role is not to wage war, but to prevent it, to act as a shield against aggression by simply existing as a credible threat. The strategy that governs these submarines is built on the principle of second strike capability. Even if an enemy were to launch a surprise attack, the Ohio-class fleet ensures that a portion of America's nuclear arsenal would survive, hidden in the depths of the oceans, ready to respond. This guarantees that no adversary could ever hope to win a nuclear war, because retaliation would always follow. The submarine's stealth makes them nearly impossible to track, and this invisibility is their greatest weapon. As long as they remain undetected, they guarantee deterrence by maintaining the certainty of a devastating counterattack. Keeping this deterrent constantly at sea requires an innovative approach to crew management. Each submarine operates with two full crews, known as the Blue and the Gold crews. They alternate deployments, allowing the vessel to spend far more time on patrol than would be possible with a single crew. While one crew takes the submarine to sea for a months-long patrol, the other remains ashore, training, resting, and preparing for the next rotation. This dual crew system is not just a matter of efficiency, it ensures that the human element, the most vital component of the submarine, remains sharp and ready. Fatigue and burnout have no place in such a demanding environment, and the rotation system allows the mission to continue seamlessly. Patrols are shrouded in secrecy. The exact locations of the submarines are known only to a select few within the chain of command. Families do not know where their loved ones are, only that they are somewhere beneath the oceans, carrying out a mission that must remain hidden. For the sailors, this secrecy becomes second nature. They speak little of their work even when on shore, not out of neglect, but out of necessity. The classified nature of their duties becomes part of who they are, a silent burden they carry for the sake of security. Yet even with this burden, a sense of pride runs deep among submariners. They know that the quiet patrols they endure are a vital part of national defense. Unlike more visible branches of the military, they do not march in parades or deploy to highly publicized combat zones. Their service is invisible, their contributions often unrecognized. But in the grand calculus of deterrence, it is precisely this invisibility that makes them indispensable. They are the unseen guardians, the final safeguard against catastrophe, operating in silence so that others may live without fear of nuclear war. It is worth noting, too, that Ohio-class submarines are not static relics of the Cold War. Over the years, they have been modernized and adapted to changing needs. Some have been converted into guided missile submarines, carrying conventional cruise missiles instead of nuclear weapons, capable of striking with precision in regional conflicts. Others continue to carry out the core deterrent role, updated with advanced systems to ensure their relevance in an era where technology evolves rapidly. This adaptability reflects the enduring importance of these vessels. They are not symbols of the past, but active participants in the present, and their role will remain critical until the next generation of ballistic missile submarines takes their place. For the crew members, however, modernization and strategy are not abstract concepts. They are lived realities, shaping the way they train, the tools they use, and the missions they undertake. Every system, from navigation to propulsion to weapons control, demands their attention and skill. The margin for error is non-existent. A submarine is both a warship and a life support system, a place where technology and human resilience must work in perfect harmony. The sailors who operate it are not simply passengers on a nuclear deterrent, they are its guardians, its stewards, and its beating heart. The Ohio-class submarine is not just a vessel of war, it is a moving ecosystem, a steel city that sails unseen beneath the waves. Within its pressure hull, carefully crafted and reinforced to withstand the crushing weight of the ocean, are layers of living and working spaces that must support the crew for weeks, sometimes months, at a time. Every system is designed with precision, and every corner of space is used to its maximum capacity. The crew sleeps in tightly arranged bunks, eats in a mess hall that doubles as a place of camaraderie, and trains daily to ensure that readiness never fades. Life here is not easy, but it is profoundly structured, built on discipline, trust, and the knowledge that every sailor's actions contribute to the safety of the entire boat. Much of the submarine's routine is hidden from the outside world. When submerged, there are no windows, no view of the ocean, and no sense of whether it is day or night. Time is kept by the rhythm of duty cycles, watch rotations, maintenance checks, drills, meals, and rare moments of rest. The lack of sunlight forces the crew to adapt to artificial schedules, relying on routine and discipline to maintain focus. In this environment, morale is maintained not through luxury, but through small comforts. A hot meal, a letter from home delivered when the boat resurfaces, or the camaraderie built over countless shared hours in confined quarters. Sailors often say the submarine becomes a family, and it must be, for survival depends on mutual reliance. Beyond the living quarters, the submarine's operational spaces hum constantly with activity. In the control room, sailors monitor sonar systems, navigation instruments, and communication lines, ensuring that the boat remains aware of its surroundings even in the silent darkness. Elsewhere, the reactor room houses the heart of the vessel's propulsion, maintained by highly trained specialists who understand that the reactor must never falter. Every role is critical, every position filled by sailors who have undergone years of rigorous preparation. In such a closed system, redundancy and vigilance are essential. One oversight could jeopardize not only the mission, but also the lives of all aboard. Yet even in this demanding environment, the sailors find ways to maintain their humanity. They celebrate milestones, share stories, and lean on humor to cut through the monotony of long deployments. Games, books, and films circulate through the crew, and though space is scarce, the sense of community helps to alleviate the pressures of confinement. This balance between duty and morale is what sustains them, allowing the submarine to remain submerged and effective for extended missions. It is not a life for everyone, but for those who choose it, it becomes a calling, a life of service lived beneath the surface, unseen by most, yet carrying a burden of responsibility that shapes the course of nations. Training for life aboard a submarine would not be complete without a relentless focus on emergencies, and among the most vital lessons sailors face is mastering the art of firefighting. Fire is the ultimate nightmare beneath the ocean's surface. In a place sealed against water and air, even the smallest flame can become catastrophic, consuming oxygen, producing toxic smoke, and spreading with lethal speed. Submariners know that if a fire breaks out, there is no calling the local fire department, no escape route waiting outside a door. The only firefighters are the crew themselves, and the only equipment available is what they can carry and manage in seconds. For this reason, firefighting training is one of the most physically and mentally demanding aspects of preparation. The Navy ensures that sailors become proficient through grueling simulations. In training facilities designed to replicate the conditions inside a submarine, recruits face smoke-filled compartments, dark passageways, and intense heat. They learn to work in teams, donning heavy firefighting suits and carrying breathing gear that restricts both movement and endurance. These drills are deliberately stressful, simulating not just the physical strain, but also the confusion and panic that can overwhelm inexperienced sailors. With alarms blaring and visibility reduced to a few feet, they must stay calm, communicate clearly, and execute their tasks with precision. Panic is the enemy, and hesitation can cost lives. At the core of this training lies the principle of coordination. Firefighting in a submarine is not a solo act, but a carefully choreographed effort where every sailor has a role. Some manage hoses, others search for victims, and still others contain the spread by sealing compartments. Each drill emphasizes teamwork, reminding sailors that survival depends on mutual trust and discipline. These exercises push them to exhaustion, but they instill muscle memory, the ability to react instinctively when real danger strikes. By the time they finish the program, the sailors are no longer merely recruits, but guardians of their vessel, prepared to act with speed and confidence under pressure. What makes the training so effective is its realism. The Navy spares no detail in ensuring that the scenarios mirror what could happen at sea. Sailors may be ordered to extinguish fires while navigating narrow passageways, forced to drag heavy equipment through tight hatches, or required to switch breathing devices mid-task while still controlling flames. They quickly learn how disorienting smoke and heat can be, and how essential it is to rely on both procedure and trust in their team. By facing these challenges repeatedly, recruits develop not only technical competence, but also the mental resilience that separates those who can endure the submarine environment from those who cannot. When the exercises end, the lessons remain engraved in memory. Every sailor walks away with the knowledge that they are the first and last line of defense against one of the deadliest threats beneath the sea. Firefighting training is not simply a drill, it is a transformation. It shapes ordinary men and women into sailors capable of facing the most hostile conditions imaginable, carrying with them the readiness that defines the submarine force. Among the most daunting trials that submarine trainees face is learning how to escape from a submerged vessel in the event of disaster. The ocean is unforgiving, and when a submarine is trapped below the surface, survival depends on the crew's ability to exit into the crushing deep and rise safely to the top. To prepare them for this, the Navy uses the pressurized submarine escape trainer, a towering water-filled structure that replicates the environment sailors might face if they ever needed to make such a desperate ascent. For many recruits, it is the single most intimidating part of training. The escape trainer is not simply a swimming pool. It is a vertical chamber that can be flooded and pressurized to mimic conditions far beneath the waves. Trainees step into the chamber in groups, often with visible anxiety written across their faces. The idea of ascending from depth with only one's lungs and training as protection against the immense pressure is enough to test the courage of even the strongest. Instructors, experienced submariners themselves, watch closely, guiding the recruits through every stage while reminding them that preparation is the only shield against fear. Inside the chamber, the pressure increases as water fills around them, pressing against their bodies with a force that feels alien and oppressive. The recruits are taught to control their breathing, to remain calm, and to trust the techniques drilled into them over weeks of instruction. The key lesson is simple yet critical. Never hold your breath during the ascent. Expanding air in the lungs can cause severe injury, and the only way to survive is to exhale steadily, releasing air as they rise. It is a natural instinct to cling to the last breath of oxygen, but the training forces them to overcome that instinct with discipline and trust in their bodies. When the signal is given, each recruit must push off from the chamber's bottom and begin the climb toward the surface. Their hearts pound as they rise through the water column, releasing a stream of bubbles with every exhale. The pressure eases as they ascend, but the fear of failure lingers until the surface is reached. Some manage with steady confidence, while others battle panic, struggling against the instinct to rush upward or to hold their breath. The instructors are always nearby, ready to intervene if a mistake occurs, but the ultimate responsibility rests on the recruit. The moment they break the surface, gasping in air, they realize they have overcome not only the physical challenge, but also the mental barrier of fear. Repeating the exercise builds confidence. What begins as sheer terror gradually becomes manageable, though never easy. By the end of the training, sailors who once doubted themselves emerge with the assurance that if the worst were to happen, they would have the skills to attempt an escape. More importantly, they carry with them a hardened sense of resilience. The escape trainer is not simply about survival at sea. It is about teaching submariners to confront fear head-on, to trust their training, and to believe that even in the darkest depths, there is a way back to the surface.